Welcome to this short video. This video is meant for therapists interested in a Restart DCM approach. In March 2025, in Poland, the first workshop about the Restart DCM approach was organized. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about this approach. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Ellen Larus. I'm a speech therapist specialized in stuttering for about 30 years. I'm also already working with young stuttering children, and I'm also a trainer for the Restart DCM approach. So let me tell you more about the Restart DCM. So the origin of the Restart DCM is based on a demands and capacities model-based treatment, therapy, we'd rather say. And that idea of demands and capacities was already introduced in the 80s, by different people, but Starkweather, for example, he stated that when a child lacks the capacity to meet demands for fluency, stuttering, or something like stuttering, will occur. And Starkweather and Gottwald in the 90s said, it is possible that a stuttering child does not develop the capacities for fluency fast enough to catch up to the increasing demands of his communicative environment. And that idea of demands and capacities is the base for the Restart DCM. So the Restart DCM uses this scale as a clinical model. This model helps the therapist to know what kind of assessment is necessary before the start of therapy and how to structure therapy, because it clarifies the goals for that therapy. So as said, this model discriminates between capacities, those capacities required for non-stuttered speech, for example, capacities in the speech motor movements, that good timing and coordination of those movements. And on the other side of the scale, we see the demands that are put upon the speech, the demands for non-stuttered speech. And those demands can be internal. The child can have a high demand put upon itself. For example, when a child talks in long sentences, that is a higher demand on the speech coordination than when a child uses short sentences. And demands can be external, and external can be, for example, parents or environment is speaking in a much higher speech rate than the child is. And those demands are often unconsciously. And what I need to add about capacities is that, of course, these are growing and maturing as the child grows older. But that does not necessarily mean that that will become into a better balance. So the goal of a Restart demands and capacities model-based therapy is to create an optimum balance. A balance, well, of course, the predisposition will determine how that balance will be at the end, but we will strive to get the balance as optimal as possible, given the capacities of the child. And we create that optimum balance between capacities and the demands. The goal there is that the child, when there is that optimum balance, is able to express him or herself with the greatest possible ease, without effort, without being insecure or ashamed of stuttering. No, with the greatest possible ease, with confidence, and it can be with or without stuttering. So, therapy in short, the first phase of therapy will be focused on decreasing the demands to already start having a better balance. If needed, if the balance is not optimal yet, then phase 2 is started with a focus more on increasing the capacities. We think that with a favorable balance, while maturation continues, that will optimize that favorable development. So the child will be able to have a more automated speech coordination and of course at a level that matches the child's neurophysiological predisposition. And that means that not all children will become totally fluent, that the stuttering will fade out for all children. But again, we will focus on an optimal balance for this specific child. During the workshop, for example, we will get into the assessment, how to do the assessment to clarify the relevant demands and capacities for this specific child and family. And good to mention, this approach is designed and studied for children aged 6 years or younger, the preschoolers. On our website, the Restart DCM website, we have an recently updated version of the Restart DCM method. And that is a free download. Everybody can download this part of the Restart DCM. And in it, you will find an introduction, the assessment. We have a first parent conference, how to do phase 1 of the Restart DCM therapy. How about we start to work on phase 2, more directly working on increasing the child's capacities, how to taper off therapy, and we have a few appendices. And over here we have, for example, Appendix 3, that is an information leaflet you can give to the parent and read together with the parent probably. But we think that reading about a method is not the same as following a workshop in which you get more hands-on knowledge about therapy. So what can you expect when we give a workshop about Restart? Well, for example, first, the assessment. We are going to do an analysis of a video interaction to see what demands probably need to be addressed during therapy. How to assess the child's capacities on 4 domains. And again, all that gathered information, how to organize all that relevant information in the 4 domains of the Restart DCM. And by organizing this information, we are able to determine goals for therapy and for setting up the structure of therapy. So in this visual, you see the steps we do during assessments. So during the workshop, you will be able to train your own skills, because how do you translate that theory, that theoretical goal? How do you translate that into therapy activities? And how are you able to be a confident model in speaking with a child with lower demands yourself, so you are able to train those specific goals with the parents? So we work on enhancing your skills, and we do that while, for example, practicing in small groups. During the workshop, we will show you videos of elements of therapy, so you can observe behavioral changes modeled by the therapist. And also, we have the possibility, and we strongly advise all participants of our workshop to take that opportunity to send in your own case study when you have been practicing already a bit with the Restart DCM, so we can help strengthen your skills, address perhaps some insecurities that you might have in using the Restart DCM on your own case load. Some feedback we got from participants is that they find it really helpful that this approach and this workshop gives them a good structure, how to tackle, where to start, what will be next, what can be added, etc. And because of the structure, participants mentioned that they have more insight in how to deal with all those different triggers for more stuttering, where to start, how to address that, etc. And especially that is, for example, something you will not see in, for example, a Litko approach, is when on the emotional domain, then that if that domain triggers more stuttering, how can we help parents and, if needed, the child to make changes in that emotional domain so that will not trigger stuttering anymore? As said, the third day of the workshop, it is a 3-day workshop, that is not 3 days in a row, it's 2 days, and a couple of months later, the third day. And between the first part of the workshop and that third day, you have been able to work yourself with the Restart approach. And so the third day is really helpful to develop skills further. Participants like the videos, the examples, the modeling video ourselves, and are able to feel more confident to start to work with parent and child. And of course, we do our utmost best to really address your questions, hesitations, or whatever might come up when working with the Restart DCM. So, if you want more substantive information, contact the Restart DCM team. Are you interested in joining a workshop in Poland? Contact the Polish organization. As you have already noticed, I'm not a native English speaker myself, so I will make mistakes, have to look for words once in a while, but let that language not be something to hold you back, because we will help one another to keep the communication going. So don't hesitate when you're not really feeling strong in speaking English easily. We'll help one another to get to the communication we need for a fruitful cooperation on the Restart DCM. So here is the information of our website if you are interested to read about the Restart DCM a bit more. Any questions, you can reach at this email address. Who knows, perhaps I will see you in the future.